Developing news coming out today, December 15, 2025. The FBI is saying that there was a plot to bomb various places in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve. They're saying this is one of many terror plots they're afraid are going to be coming to the United States here. And we're seeing also attacks that have been taking place all over the world. Brown University, Bondi Beach, the White House, National Guards, an assortment of different things. Take a look at the latest headlines with me so you can see it for yourself. FBI arrests 4 alleged members of radical pro-Palestinian group accused of plotting a New Year's Eve bombings that were going to take place all over LA. And as I mentioned, also Australia declares the Bondi Beach shooting a terrorist attack amid a spike in anti-Semitism. The search for the Brown University gunman resumes. Police release new video footage, live updates. I'm going to be sharing with you all the video footage that has been coming out. We've got quite a bit here. As also, take a look coming out today. Trump orders retaliation after deadly ISIS attack in Syria. Threatens a lot of damage. We also had somebody that was killed across the ocean in Syria as well. Iowa police chief has identified his son as Iowa Army National Guard who was killed in the ISIS terror attack. National Guardsman shot in D.C., making a miraculous progress. Our boy is going to recover, one of the 2 that was shot right by the White House. And we also saw that there have been several arrests, as one was an Afghan citizen federally charged for posting threats to build bombs and kill Americans. And we're hearing that there are several threats of this that are being discovered by the FBI right now. And ICE arrests of Afghans, they are on the rise in the wake of the National Guard attack, immigration lawyer says. And take a look at this. As you'll recall, not too long ago, Trump had said to a reporter, "Are you stupid?" When Trump was asked the question, why are you blaming the Biden administration? He said it was because the Biden administration allowed tons of individuals to just pour into our nation, illegal immigrants that were not properly vetted. And take a look at this coming out today. Biden officials go silent when they're asked about Afghan refugee program after the Guardsman shooting. And take a look here, breaking news at the bottom of the screen in red. Authorities release new surveillance images of the Brown University shooting person of interest. That person, they are still on the hunt for that shooter as well. So there has been a lot going on, and we're hearing warnings right now of potential attacks coming on New Year's Eve. Now, let me know your thoughts. Are you concerned about this? If so, put yes. If no, put no. If you think that nothing's really going to happen, they've got it covered, put no. If you think, yes, this is a concern. And we've actually been hearing warnings that the threat right now, it is at a heightened state. There's concern about another type of 9/11 attack. As you can see here, they were planning to put 5 different locations of bombs all throughout the city of Los Angeles to detonate simultaneously on New Year's Eve. Now, I'm going to play for you the video footage so you can see it for yourself, what the FBI has released today, December 15th, 2025. We're going to dive into all the video footage. I've got updates on all the different things that have been happening over the course of the past couple of days, as we're hearing there is a heightened threat of terror attacks, not only in the United States, but all over the world right now. So we're going to dive right in, get you caught up on the latest. These articles are hyperlinked in the description. I'm going to put them on the screen, read from them, play the video footage for you, and get you caught up. And if you appreciate that, do me a favor, take a quick second, just take some moment, hit the thumbs up like button. When you do that, help spread this out further across the YouTube platform while we're live. In addition to that, subscribe to stay up to date. If this is your first time here, it's totally free. When you hit that subscribe button, you'll get the daily updates in your YouTube feed. You can just go over to my channel, click on the latest, see what's going on, and sometimes you can even catch me live like I am right now. So hit that like button, subscribe, and let's go ahead and get right to it. And let's start off with video footage so that way you can see it for yourself. We're going to be taking a look at what the FBI had to say today. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
I want to go to some breaking news right now, Ari. I'll come right back. What we are watching now has to do with a terror plot that authorities broke up in Los Angeles.
U.S. Attorney's Office
Let's watch.
District of Louisiana, U.S. Attorney Zach Keller, and the U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Lee Foley, for providing valuable assistance over the weekend with a very complex and coordinated search warrants that were done. The charges we are announcing today stem from the defendants and their co-conspirators' detailed, coordinated plot to bomb multiple U.S. companies on New Year's Eve. Thankfully, that plot has now been foiled thanks to the hard work of the FBI and the Department of Justice. This investigation was initiated in part due to the September 2025 executive order signed by President Trump to root out left-wing domestic terror organizations in our country, such as Antifa and other radical groups like the Turtle Island Liberation Front. As the president made clear, recent attacks across the country have highlighted the grave threats posed by these far-left domestic terror groups. These threats are sophisticated, organized campaigns of targeted intimidation, radicalization, threats, and violence designed to silence opposing speech, limit political activity, and direct policy outcomes and prevent the proper functioning of a democratic society. In direct response to the President's order, the Attorney General issued a memo to our offices implementing and mobilizing federal law enforcement to prioritize and counter domestic terrorism and political violence investigations. As a result of those directives, we built this case. Both my office and the FBI have invested substantial resources into investigating and charging these organizations. And if anyone does not believe that members of these groups are organized, sophisticated, and extremely violent, let me tell you about the plot in this case. The four defendants are Audrey Carroll, 30 years old. The pictures, I think we have them somewhere. We'll put them up here. Audrey Carroll, 30 years old. Zachary Aaron Page, 32. Dante Gaffield, 24. And Tina Lay, 41. Each from the Los Angeles area. Each is charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device in violation of Title 26, United States Code Section 5861D. We intend to file additional charges in the coming weeks as we finish reviewing the evidence. The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which, according to their own social media, is an anti-capitalist, anti-government movement that calls for their associates to rise up and fight back against capitalism. One of the leaders of the organization, defendant Audrey Carroll, helped organize an even more radical faction of the group called the Order of the Black Lotus. Each of the defendants charged today was also a member of the Order of the Black Lotus. Carroll described this group to her co-conspirators as everything radical. As detailed in the federal complaint, which we will now make public, in November 2025, defendant Carroll created a detailed bombing plot to use explosive devices to attack 5 or more locations across Southern California on this upcoming New Year's Eve. Carroll and her co-defendant, Zachary Page, led the effort to obtain and build the bombs and to recruit others to join in their plot. Carroll's bomb plot was explicit. It included a step-by-step instructions to build IEDs or improvised explosive devices and listed multiple targets across Orange County and Los Angeles. Carroll also made clear her desires. She said, quote, "What we are doing will be considered a terrorist act." Carroll and Page also discussed plans for follow-up attacks after their bombings, which included plans to target ICE agents and vehicles with pipe bombs. Carroll stated that those plans would, quote, "take some of them out and scare the rest." Throughout early December, the co-conspirators discussed their plans during an in-person meeting in Los Angeles and through an encrypted messaging application. As part of the plan, the 4 defendants plan to build test bombs in the Mojave Desert. You're going to hear more details about the bombs they intended to build and how the operation went down in the desert here shortly from the FBI Assistant Director in charge. In preparation for the plan, the co-conspirators purchased multiple pieces of bomb-making materials and discussed their travel plans to the desert. Last Friday, December 12th, the defendants took a significant step to carry out their plans. They traveled to the remote campsite, which you're going to see some video of, in the desert, and they began unloading their bomb-making materials to assemble and test the bombs. They had everything they needed to make an operational bomb at that location, and they were subsequently arrested by the FBI before they could build a functional explosive device. Shortly after the defendants were taken into custody, the FBI executed multiple search warrants, including at the defendants' Southern California residence and other locations throughout the country. I'll highlight some of the items found during those searches over the weekend. For example, in Carroll's residence, law enforcement found multiple posters and materials associated with Turtle Island Liberation Front, including posters stating, quote, "Death to America, long live Turtle Island and Palestine," and, quote, "Death to ICE, Turtle Island Liberation Front." In Page's residence, law enforcement found a copy of the detailed bomb attack plan. This case is another reminder about the dangers that radicalized Antifa-like groups pose to public safety and the rule of law. Through the tireless work of our prosecutors in my office and our law enforcement partners, which you will hear from today, we disrupted this terror plot before buildings were demolished or innocent people were killed. But this is not the end of our work. My office is committed to extinguishing the far-left terror threats that we face, and will continue to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The 4 defendants arrested will make their initial appearance this afternoon at the federal court in downtown Los Angeles. They are each considered innocent until proven guilty. I will now turn it over to the Assistant Director in Charge of the FBI LA office, Akil Davis.
Nunca demandes al otro conductor después de un accidente de auto. Hay una mejor manera de recibir un cheque mucho más grande.
All right, so that was U.S. Attorney's Office for Central District of California, Bill Asaley, who was speaking. That was a lot of information. Here's the bottom line. You caught some women's names in all of this, right? And those co-conspirators, those defendants, and what they were doing to mastermind this whole area. They had planned to do some test bombing out in the Mojave Desert. That includes like Joshua Tree and also Death Valley. And it's the lowest point in all of North America. Like when you go to the desert there, you suddenly realize how vast it is. So if you're thinking, why don't they secure it? I don't think that's possible. And you can see the attraction to radicalized or would-be radicalized terrorists because they can't be seen. I want to bring in Ari Fleischer now back with me. So this ties in to what we were talking about, and that's this wave of radical Islam coming on board with jihad, with killing, with scare the rest of them, according to what the U.S. Attorney's Office just said about these co-defendants. You know, even if you can't kill everybody, scare enough people such that they become, you know, too weak to fight back, I would think. Ari.
Harris, it ties into something that's very simple and very threatening to all Americans and people, frankly, around the world. Globalize the Intifada. This was the chant that was said on American campuses. This is a chant that is said by those terrorists who strike in Israel. Globalize the Intifada. And for people too young to know or remember, the Intifada was an armed uprising, mostly in 2001, 2002, where Jews were routinely killed at weddings, at restaurants, at pizza parlors, by gunmen, by bombers, by homicide bombers who strapped bombs to themselves and would go into the public to blow up and take as many lives as they could. That's the Intifada. And just recently, we've seen all these cries, globalize it. And it's being globalized. Remember the killing of 2 Jews in Washington, D.C. earlier this year. Molotov cocktails against Jews, marching to remember those taken hostage in Boulder, Colorado. This is the Intifada gone global, and it's on America's shores. Thank goodness the FBI stopped this one.
All right, the Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF, and deeper factions underneath it are extremist groups motivated by pro-Palestinian anti-law enforcement and anti-government ideology. Let's broaden this out a bit. Let's include what happened on Bondi Beach, the massacre there in Australia, and let's talk about this from a top-down approach. So we had on a few moments ago Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna calling for a 2-state solution. Ari, one of those states would be like Hamas on the other side of Israel. Like they can't govern and feed their own people now during a ceasefire because that's not their goal.
Given the leadership right now of these Palestinian factions, and I'm not talking about Egypt, I'm not talking about Jordan, nations that have made peace with Israel, and other Arab nations that have made peace with Israel. I'm talking about Hamas. I'm talking about the remnants of Hezbollah. Any call for a 2-state solution is a call for more violence. As Senator Graham pointed out in that clip you showed, who's going to run this state? And if it's anything connected to Mahmoud Abbas, the current head of the Palestinian Authority, if it's anything connected to Hamas, the remnants of Hamas, it will be a violent state. And just, think about what happened in Australia here. And here I want to spend a second on something. What happened in Australia, Americans also need to recognize, was a police failure. Where were the police? For 20 minutes, people were able to fire weapons, one shot after another, and the police stood down. This is a failure because they didn't confront anti-Semitism. The police weren't there. And in America, and I'm going to say this tonight, or right now, I will say this. My family, we will participate in the outdoor Hanukkah lighting of a menorah. The Jewish community in America and our friends and our allies and all religions, we can never back down. We will celebrate our faith, celebrate our religion, and no one will stop us.
Ari Fleischer, wow. God bless you.
There you have it, you guys. So that came out today. Now I'm going to share with you the rest of the clips so you'll be able to see as well what they had to say following this, because they gave a lot of details about the bombings that they were planning. At least 5 different locations. They were planning to plant bombs throughout the city of Los Angeles and have them all detonate all at once on New Year's Eve. Now, there's concern about heightened threats of terror attacks on U.S. soil coming into the new year and potential just attacks in general. And we've been seeing this all over. In fact, let's take a look at some more video footage as we are seeing that, as they mentioned, there was that shooting that took place in Australia. There was also the attack at Brown University. That person, as we speak, they are trying to hunt them down. We're getting information pouring in while I'm live right now. And we also saw those previous attacks as well. The one of the National Guards over by the White House, one over in Syria, and Donald Trump saying these are ISIS terror attacks against the United States. We're not going to stand for it. We are going to retaliate. It is going to be strong. Now, if you appreciate Trump's approach to this, drop a 47 in the comments for support for the Trump administration. Hit that like button, and let's go ahead and take a look at some more video footage so you can see it for yourself.
Under attack for their faith. On the first night of Hanukkah season, gunmen killed 15 people, injured 38 others at Bondi Beach in Australia. Authorities are saying 2 men, a father and a son, opened fire on a large Hanukkah celebration. They say this was a terrorist attack on the Jewish community. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Videos captured the horrific scene of anti-Jewish violence. Hundreds of people had gathered at Bondi Beach outside of Sydney to celebrate the start of Hanukkah. Mass chaos erupted after gunshots began and continued and continued. People were running, trying to take cover. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese here.
What we saw yesterday was an act of pure evil, an act of anti-Semitism, an act of terrorism on our shores. The Jewish community are hurting today. Today, all Australians wrap our arms around them and say, we stand with you. We will do whatever is necessary to stamp out anti-Semitism. It is a scourge, and we will eradicate it together.
Part of the story is the criticism that that leader is taking. We'll get to that in a moment. The jaw-dropping video taken during the attack. Look at your screen. That hero, incredibly courageous bystander, ran toward the gunfire. He then tackled one of the gunmen and wrestled the weapon out of his hands. His parents say that man was later shot several times in the shoulder by another gunman. That hero is Ahmed Alamed, 43 years old. He's a dad, has 2 daughters who immigrated to Australia from Syria nearly 20 years ago. Today, he's recovering from his injuries. More information is coming out about the victims, too. Eli Schlangler, a 41-year-old father of 5, was a rabbi at Chabad of Bondi, and he had just welcomed a new baby son 2 months ago. Matilda B. Brivdan had just celebrated her 10th birthday before the attack. People describe her as a joyful and spirited little girl who brought light to everyone around her. Former NYPD detective Darren Porcher is here. Coming up, though, first, let's get the very latest from the ground. Senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott. Greg.
Harris, the people of Australia, the folks here in London, all around the world, still reeling from this horrendous attack in Australia. Police now say they expect to bring criminal charges against the surviving gunman in this deadly shooting spree that went on for minutes and minutes that, yes, left 15 killed, ages 10 to 87, including a Holocaust survivor, a rabbi, as you noted. Dozens have been hospitalized and several remain in critical condition. A father, 50 years old, and his son, 24, targeted hundreds of people, adults, kids, you name it, gathered at a park at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach to mark the first day of Hanukkah. Officials describe it as a terrible act of anti-Semitism. In fact, an act of terrorism against the Jewish community there. In one vivid scene, as you described, let's go through it again, a bystander can be seen sneaking up on one of the gunmen, then tackling him, wrestling the gun away, pushing him down to the ground, pointing the gun at him as the suspect backs off, and then putting the gun down, motioning to the man. He would soon be wounded himself. In comments later, President Trump called him a very brave man. Here is what one eyewitness, and as you can see, a victim, described it.
I saw at least one gunman firing, looked like a shotgun, firing randomly in all directions. I saw children falling to the floor, so elderly I saw, invalids I saw. People just, it was an absolute bloodbath, blood gushing everywhere.
As people today mourn the losses, more is learned about the shooters. The father, who died after being shot by police, was an immigrant who lived in Australia on a variety of visas. The son, who was injured, reportedly was investigated by police a few years ago for his association with members of a Sydney-based cell of the Islamic State or ISIS terror group. He was not, at that time, Harris, deemed a threat. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he'll introduce new security measures to protect the Jewish community. But as you noted, there have been several anti-Semitic attacks in the past couple of years and got people there concerned. Also, the 50-year-old gunman had legal possession of 6 firearms, all of them now in the possession of police. Back to you.
And that, we'll get into that with my guest today, but I just want to double check. They have some very strong gun laws in that country. I mean, it's one to have one gun. It's another thing to have 6 like that.
Very strong gun laws. 30 years ago, there was a massive attack. They were put in place. But over the last 10 years, this man was able to acquire 6 guns legally. Back to you.
All right, Greg Palcott, thank you very much.
There you have it, you guys. So that is the updates as to what is going on right now with the Bondi Beach attack over in Australia. Now, we've got some more on that as well. Chilling details, it says, emerging, this coming out today. So a lot going on with these attacks over the last 24 hours. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video footage so you can see some more updates on this particular attack. And this coming as this morning, as I just shared with you, the FBI announcing major bombing plot on Los Angeles City has just been thwarted, but there's concerns about more attacks that could be taking place here in the United States as we approach New Year's Eve. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Australia reeling after at least 15 people were killed and dozens injured when 2 gunmen targeted a Hanukkah celebration right there on Bondi Beach in an anti-Semitic terror attack. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott live in London with more. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Bill. Hey, Dana, sorry. Yes, the people in Australia, in fact, all around the world, are still in shock from the attack on Sunday. Police now say they expect to bring criminal charges against a surviving gunman in a deadly shooting spree that left 15 dead, aged 10 to 87. Dozens were hospitalized. Several remain in critical condition. A father, 50 years old, and his son, 24, targeted hundreds of people, adults, kids, gathered at a park at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach to mark the first day of Hanukkah. Officials describe it as a terrible act of anti-Semitism, in fact, an act of terrorism against the Jewish community. In one vivid scene, a bystander can be seen sneaking up on one of the gunmen, then tackling him, wrestling the gun away from the man, pushing him down to the ground, pointing the gun at him as the suspect backs off, and then putting the gun down. He would soon be wounded himself. In comments later, President Trump called him a very brave man. Here is one eyewitness and victim's account.
I saw at least one gunman firing, looked like a shotgun, firing randomly in all directions. I saw children falling to the floor, so elderly I saw, invalids I saw, people just, it was an absolute bloodbath, blood gushing everywhere.
As people today mourn the losses, more is learned about the shooters. The father, who died after being shot by police, was an immigrant who lived in Australia on various visas. The son, who was injured, reportedly was investigated by police a few years ago for his association with members of a Sydney-based cell of the Islamic State, or ISIS terror group. He was not deemed a threat at the time. Dana, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he'll introduce new security measures to protect the Jewish population. Critics say he hasn't done enough, and he wants to tighten up already strict gun laws. The 50-year-old gunman had legal possession of 6 firearms. Now all are recovered. Back to you guys.
All right, Greg Palcott, thank you.
So now, in the wake of the attack in Australia, President Trump with a message of support to Jewish Americans, telling Fox News this yesterday: "We celebrate proudly, be proud of who you are," end quote. The president also saying this at a Christmas reception at the White House last night.
And I think today we can first say loudly, we celebrate Hanukkah, because that was such a horrible attack. That was a purely anti-Semitic attack.
The truth is, not every child gets the chance to go to the movies. In North America alone, more than 20 million.
All right, Paul Morrow, former NYPD inspector, Fox News contributor. And Paul, good morning to you. There's a ton to go over here. Let's start in Australia. I'm reading that the father was from Syria. I'm reading the father is Palestinian. I don't know which is true. I know the father went to Australia in 1998. The son was born there.
Right.
You heard Greg's reporting. 6 years ago, the son was investigated for links to ISIS, and then that went quiet. He had 6 firearms found at the scene yesterday. You've been watching it since.
All right, a couple of things occur to me. First of all, one of the things we have to recognize, Australia doesn't have a First Amendment, all right? And it sounds like a nuance, but it does matter. They don't have anywhere near the constitutional protections we have on speech. Where does that hit the ground? If you're doing intelligence work inside of Australia, you have a lot more freedom to do what you would like to do than you do here in the States. And having been in that position, having done 15 years of counterterrorism, I can tell you that your proscription, the thing that you're always bumping up against when it comes to speech in America, religious and political speech, you can only go so far. It's heavily, heavily lawyered, both at the federal and the state level. Where am I going with this is the following. He was on their radar screen. There are going to be inevitable questions. And I'm not saying the Australian intelligence agencies dropped the ball, because a lot of this stuff can be needle in a haystack. But if he was on their radar screen, and if there were subsequent things where they should have picked it up, Albanese and the authorities there are almost certainly going to face questions as to why, because they can go a lot further than we can here.
Could you talk about the bravery of the bystander that sees the father shooting and disarms him?
Yeah, you see these things where bystanders just step up in the most unexpected ways. And, you know, a good aspect of it is the fact that it turns out he's a Muslim as well. And, you know, you can't ignore that nuance. And that came out fairly early, and I think that that was an important fact to get out from the media. And I think the thing that struck me is he doesn't shoot the father. He doesn't shoot the main perpetrator here. Now, at least under American law, certainly in New York, you would have been justified in doing so. Why? Because he's already demonstrated that he's a danger to others. So as a result, as he goes back towards his son, who's the other shooter, you have to be saying to yourself, is he going to pick up another gun? Is he going to start shooting again? And yet the guy showed amazing restraint. He doesn't shoot the main shooter that he sees as that shooter flees. And in fact, he subsequently takes 2 rounds himself, one to his hand and one to his arm. A real hero. God bless him.
It's remarkable to watch. I mean, people all over social media and watching the Fox News channel yesterday, you can watch the entire incident. It's 11 minutes long, and it's right there for you.
It is.
With regard to Australia, they've had numerous incidents of anti-Semitism just in the last year and a half. A synagogue was burned, Hitler graffiti, cars set on fire, a child care center was defaced, arson attack on Shabbat. That's just a few of them, Paul. This is primarily Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was going earlier, which is the fact that in light of that environment, And then you hear some of the stuff that's been coming out. You know, we've seen Miranda Devine's been doing a lot of reporting in this in the New York Post, talking about the fact that there have been numerous warning signs here. But what is a labor movement government in Australia has been sort of bending the other way to make sure, like, for instance, they put in a liaison against anti-Semitism relatively recently because they were kind of sort of shouted into doing it, but simultaneously they made sure they did the same thing for Islamophobia, despite the fact that there's nowhere near commensurate as many threats and harassment incidents to the Islamic population as to the Jewish population. Now, you don't want to see harassment or threats to any population. I understand that. But you know what? You have to face facts sometime and put in your resources where they should be. And it doesn't look like they did.
So one of the things that we'll have next hour, Dan Senor, he'll be on, and he has the Call Me Back podcast. So one of the things he talked about on there today, one of his guests, is that there is intel about a state actor trying to actually physically globalize the Intifada.
Iran.
So I'm wondering about what the United States can do to help share intelligence and try to get ahead of this, to the extent that we did that. We've done that for a long time, since after 9/11.
So Australia is part of the so-called Five Eyes, all right, which is a grouping of essentially the Anglosphere, for lack of a better term, sharing intelligence that could be, particularly in counterterrorism, that's beneficial to all parties. There's a lot of reporting coming out in various areas and some in Israeli media about how the common denominator among a lot of this stuff is Iran. Remember, Iran just took a very good hit from us, and you know we hit their nuclear program. They're not ones to take that lying down, so they're going to pull what levers they can. And let's look across the board here. You've had 3 American soldiers killed in Syria. You have 5 Islamists of various varieties trying to drive a vehicle into a Christmas market in Germany. Thank God that was stopped. We have the incident in Australia, and right now you have to say that the Brown incident has to remain on the radar screen until we know otherwise. So when you look across the board and you start to say to yourself, is there a common denominator? We don't know this, but it does look like at the very least there's an anti-Semitism sort of metric blowing through it. And then if you look at, well, who could be inspiring that? Could be Iran.
Right.
Paul, thank you.
All you did this weekend, too.
So we got Australia first, and we're going to get to all the other stories coming up momentarily. Thank you.
There you have it, you guys. And like he said, a lot of different stories coming up, and people are asking what is going on here with LA. So again, we covered it earlier, but I'll just go ahead and do this for those that are hopping on a little bit late here. Take a look. You can see FBI arrested 4 alleged members of a radical pro-Palestinian group that was accused of plotting a New Year's Eve bombing. We're hearing that they were planning to do at least 5 different locations throughout the city of LA. They were planning to detonate bombs on New Year's simultaneously. So we have the threats that are coming right now to various cities. We're hearing the sleeper cells. They are very still much alive, and we're hearing that they could be starting to potentially be activated. There's concerns about what they're plotting behind the scenes. The FBI is trying to stop them and mitigate any potential attacks from unfolding here. But how many are there that we just aren't even aware of? But they are managing to stop and intercept a lot of the plans that they are trying to unfold here in the United States. Now that also, we are getting breaking news coming in about Brown University as well. Let's take a look at some video footage on that shooting that happened as well. Let's take a look at the video footage.
All right, Fox News alert here. We've got brand new video of the suspect in the Brown shooting. This is new video of the person of interest. Top left of your screen, you can see walking there across the drive. This just in, as we are awaiting more information on what went down there and who's responsible. Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker. She joins us now by phone. Nicole, we're just getting a first look at that video as we also are watching live FBI agents combing through the grass covered with snow live out of Providence, Rhode Island. Almost appears like they're in a line specifically looking for a piece of evidence. Can you talk over these live pictures for us and tell us what we're watching?
Yeah, Sandra, I mean, it's been a very difficult investigation, obviously. The ideal situation is that someone is in custody as soon as possible, but we know that the person of interest was released and had been previously detained. But that's what the FBI is going to be doing. They're going to be going back to the crime scene and potentially looking for any further evidence of this crime. And the inclement weather, snow, is not a friend to the FBI. Obviously, it makes conditions very difficult to investigate, but that will not stop them or hinder them in continuing on with this investigation. Obviously, methodically, they have been told, and there is a reason that they are there. There is a reason that they are doing this action in motion and looking in the snow potentially for evidence of the crime.
That he either dropped something as he was running on the way out the building or threw something. We've seen this many, many times in other investigations where you get a line of law enforcement officers as they go through a field or across a lawn or whatever looking for evidence. But in that first video that we saw, Nicole, and the second video that we just got where you can see the person of interest there, the main suspect, walking past the camera, it's very nonchalant. I mean, when we saw the alleged perpetrator in the Charlie Kirk assassination leaving the scene, he was in full flight, jumping down off of that roof and running across the quad. But this person just seems to be out for a stroll.
Right, and I don't think that it's uncommon to be nonchalant. I worked a Parkland school shooting, and the shooter actually left the school with the rest of the students as if he was the victim of the crime. He ended up kind of meandering his way to the Walmart, to the Subway, to the McDonald's, just as if nothing even happened. Cool as can be. And so that's, an indication in this case that this person, they wanted to get out. They knew that there likely was video surveillance, and they didn't want to draw any attention to what had just occurred. But this is a difficult case because of the lack of the camera systems within the building at Brown University. They've been very transparent about it. Their camera system and technology in that older building was not up to standard of what you would expect. And therefore, it's making it more difficult for law enforcement. But rest assured, with time, this individual will be brought into custody. And again, it goes back to old-fashioned police work and gathering evidence, reconstructing crime scenes, and the tips. The tips are so important. We saw it with Charlie Kirk. We've seen it with other investigations. I still believe that human intelligence is the most powerful intelligence. There is someone out there who knows this shooter, and they need to report this information to law enforcement.
So, Nicole, just taking it back to the basics here on what we're watching as far as this search is concerned, it looks like, it's boots on the ground, and they are trying to, it appears, kick up anything they can that would be under the snow right now. They're jostling some of the trash bins there. This is just an on-the-ground effort. It looks like they're trying to comb over as much property as possible in the shortest period of time.
Absolutely. And again, remember, in the initial, after the crime has been committed and they're doing the evidence response, they're at the crime scene, and that's typically when most evidence will be gathered. But again, more tips that come in, more information. It is always a good idea to go back, and they're looking for something specific right now. This is not a coincidence that they've been tasked with this effort. They are out there, they're doing what they need to do, looking for any evidence or sign of the crime that could lead them to the suspect.
All right. Well, we'll continue to watch this through our cameras that are there on the scene. Nicole, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Sean Hannah.
Let's take a look at some more updates on this as well. Now, what we're hearing is that with everything that's going on, as you can see, we have got the threats of bombings in Los Angeles. We have the shooting that happened in Australia and also the one over at Brown University. We also had the attack on the National Guards at the White House. We had the terror attack on the guard in Syria as well. And Trump has vowed that there is going to be a strong retaliation after these attacks on U.S. troops and on U.S. soil. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you glad to see this? Do you think that we need to have a strong retaliation? If you think so, put yes in the comments. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts, or drop a 47 for support for Donald Trump. While you're doing that, do me a favor, hit that like button. But let's take a look at this video footage coming out. As we're seeing, there are a lot of attacks, a lot of threats. We're in a heightened state of alert as we're approaching New Year's. And Trump is saying they're going to be doing something about it. So stay tuned to the channel. Let's take a look at this video footage.
Now to this, President Trump warns of serious retaliation after 2 U.S. Army soldiers and 1 U.S. interpreter were killed by a lone ISIS terrorist in an ambush attack in Syria.
Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Dan. This is obviously a grave reminder of the risks that we face around the world. Tell us what you know about the latest on this.
Yeah, so 3 U.S. service members killed in Palmyra, Syria. Reportedly, they were meeting with Syrian Ministry of Interior officials to discuss counterterrorism operations. What I can't emphasize enough, and this is based on my own experience at CIA serving in war zones alongside the U.S. military, is counterterrorism is really reliant on human sources and on engagement with our close government and non-state actor partners so that we can detect threats way out, in this case in Syria, before any harm is visited on our homeland. We saw the attempted attack on the Taylor Swift concert a while back. That was from ISIS based in Afghanistan. And so this is roughly 1,000 U.S. soldiers out there on the front lines, God bless them, protecting us here in the homeland. They're not engaged in nation building and democracy building and those sorts of things. They're just out there to protect Americans, and that's what they were doing. And so I think we'll be looking to honor their memory by, as the president said, taking the fight to ISIS. There'll be some retaliation, and they'll look at this incident, this terrorist attack itself, and look for opportunities to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Dan, can you explain again to the American people why we're in Syria?
Yeah, look, we've been there since 2014, and we go where the terrorists are. And we got to be there in order to find them and fix their location and finish them. That's something that the Secretary Hegseth has emphasized, and it's something that we incorporated into our strategy when I was at the CIA and continue to do so in the intelligence community. We're out there and we're in other parts of the world, to dangerous places. And I can tell you from my experience, it's exactly where we wanted to be. It's why we signed up. We could stay here in the United States, but the threats aren't here, per se. They're there, and that's why we need to be there.
I only ask because it's sometimes really hard in places like that to know who the good guys and who the bad guys are. The leader there was not very long ago a bad guy.
That's right, and he has, become the leader of Syria, and he was imprisoned, but has changed his tune. And look, we're going to mistrust a bit and verify him. The president wants to give Syria a chance. There are geopolitical reasons here for this. Syria was once a gateway for Iran to target Israel and to target us in Iraq. And if that's no longer possible, that's good for the United States, good for the region.
Well, we'll be following this. Dan Hoffman, as always, thank you for your insight.
Thank you, Dan.
I'm Steve Duke.
There you have it, you guys. So Donald Trump is saying there will be a retaliation for what is going on. And we're actually here's some more footage that has come out. They're saying there are grave warnings that are being issued on Palestinian statehood after the deadly attack in Australia and all the attacks that we are seeing that have been coming out right now. So let's take a look at this, and then I want to jump back to the announcement from the FBI on what happened in Los Angeles. But a lot of footage coming out with all the attacks that are taking place right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Joining me now with more on all of this is South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, thanks very much for being here this morning. I want to get your take on Australia and how you see things. But first, you just heard President Trump vowing that there will be consequences for the incident in Syria. What kind of consequences do you want to see?
I want to attack ISIS training camps wherever they may be. And what I want to know about Syria, was this gunman associated with the Syrian security forces? Was this a green on blue attack? Was this an attack of somebody inside the Syrian security forces that turned on us, or was it just a lone gunman associated with ISIS? That's an important distinction. I want to know about that. The Syrian government has signed up to the anti-ISIS program. I support trying to work with the Syrian government, but there's some very nefarious characters around Gilani, the head of Syria. We might want to revisit relieving Caesar Act sanctions to make sure that we have some leverage against the people running Syria. What's the connection between Syria and Australia? Radical Islam. Radical Islam wants to kill all the Jews. They want to kill 2 soldiers from Iowa. This is a religious war. They hate us because we're Christians, we're infidels, and they want to kill all the Jews. To the Australian government, you let your people down. The man who was killed, the rabbi that was killed in this attack, wrote a letter to the Prime Minister of Australia weeks ago asking him to reconsider recognizing the Palestinian state. To every Western government who's recognized a Palestinian state, you're rewarding killing Jews. It's the most irresponsible decision I can imagine. What state are you recognizing? Is it controlled by Hamas? What are you recognizing here? When you kill Jews, you get a state, you're going to get more killing of Jews. So I would urge the West to get tougher on radical Islam. The rabbi who begged the prime minister to reverse his decision to recognize a Palestinian state is now dead. And how could you not have better security given what's going on in Australia around a large gathering of our Jewish brothers and sisters on Hanukkah? As to Syria, ISIS would come here if they could. God bless President Trump for wanting to retaliate.
Yeah, I want to get back to Australia in a moment, but let me get to Syria in one more moment here, because are you questioning whether or not it was, in fact, a lone gunman from ISIS? Are you questioning that with what you just said about Syria?
I don't know, but I'm assuming it was a lone gunman. I want to know, was this person part of the security forces? In Afghanistan, we have instances of where people we were working with wound up shooting our soldiers. What kind of vetting system do we have regarding the Syrian security forces? That's a major difference between being part of the security forces or a lone gunman. I don't know. I do support working with the Syrian government, but we relieved all the sanctions against Syria, maybe too prematurely. Look at the attacks in Sweden. The statements coming from the Syrian leadership about Israel disturb me. So I want to revisit whether or not we should have more leverage against the Syrian government.
On Australia, this rabbi who sent the letter, are you saying and warning other nations not to recognize a Palestinian state?
I am telling you that if you recognize a Palestinian state after October the 7th, where you have not negotiated a new West Bank, a new Gaza free from Islamic terrorist control, you're incentivizing killing Jews. The signal is you attack and kill 1,200 Jewish people, the world will recognize a Palestinian state. The best way to get a Palestinian state is to kill Jews. That's what the message is being sent from Australia, France, and Germany. France can't even have a Christmas celebration because they're worried about radical Islam in their midst. So President Trump is right to retaliate. And as to Gaza, I reject a board of peace. I reject rebuilding Gaza until Hamas has been disarmed and destroyed. So this idea that we would rebuild Gaza before Hamas has been disarmed and destroyed makes no sense to me.
So this is all radical Islam, Senator. What do you want to see from President Trump in terms of assisting Australia right now?
I want President Trump to make a speech about what we're facing. That ISIS, Obama and Biden were wrecking balls. Obama withdrew all of our forces from Iraq. I begged him not to. ISIS took over in Iraq and Syria. Raqqa, Syria became a launching pad for attacks against the West. President Trump destroyed the caliphate. President Biden withdrew from Afghanistan, setting in motion radicalization of the entire planet, Russia invading Ukraine. President Trump has been dealing with the wrecking ball of Obama and Biden. What would I like to see him do? Give Israel the green light to go in and finish off Hamas, destroy Hezbollah. If you can't get them to disarm diplomatically in Lebanon, come up with a military campaign to take Hezbollah down, work with Israel to do that. The world will never be safe as long as Iran has proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah. Do not rebuild Gaza. Do not invest in Gaza until Hamas has been disarmed. Stand with Israel without apology. Reject the idea that a Palestinian state is the right answer until the Palestinian state has been de-radicalized and demilitarized. What happened in Australia should be a word of warning. When you appease those who kill Jews, you get more killing of Jews. ISIS killed 2 young men from Iowa because they were in Syria protecting us. And if ISIS comes back, they will hit us again. So God bless President Trump for putting ISIS on notice. We're going to retaliate, disarm Hamas, give Israel the green light to finish them off.
And what can you do in the Senate? You've got a few days left legislatively for the year. Are you expecting a response from the Senate this upcoming week?
Yeah, I would love to see the Senate pass legislation going after the schools that breed anti-Semitism and make it hard to be a Jewish student on campus. What I want to do is more aid to Israel. I'm going to Israel next week. I think what we should be doing is working with the administration to come up with a plan to rebuild Gaza, to de-radicalize and demilitarize Gaza and the West Bank only after Hamas has been destroyed. There is no Arab force coming into Gaza to take weapons away from Hamas. That's got to be done by Israel. So I would urge President to give them the green light. When it comes to Russia, Ukraine, I want to pass sanctions against Russia to give tools to President Trump to go after customers who prop Putin's war machine up. This Russia-Ukraine deal cannot be paving the way for a third invasion. There's so much going on in the world right now. I really do appreciate President Trump. He has got a mess on his hands, from Obamacare to a broken border to a war in Russia, Ukraine, to radical Islam on the rise, and it all goes back to Obama and Biden. He is cleaning up their mess, and be patient with this man.
Well, should we be expecting copycat efforts in the United States?
Yes.
I mean, this attack in Australia was designed
Yes.
to target the Jewish community
100%.
on the first day of Hanukkah. What should we expect in America?
Yep. There should be no meeting of our Jewish brothers and sisters anywhere in the country of significance without adequate security. Being Jewish should not be a death sentence in 2025. I am so sorry to my Jewish brothers and sisters that the world is turning a blind eye yet again to those who wish to destroy the Jewish people. It seems to me that 80 years after the Holocaust, we should insist that the Iranian regime, which is the great evil to all of this, be dealt with. That we should destroy Hamas and Hezbollah to allow Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel. We have anti-Semitism in flames all over the planet, and we're not doing enough to push back.
But Senator, we thought that we were seeing progress on that front from President Trump's efforts on ending all of these wars.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I appreciate his efforts. He allowed Israel to punish Hamas and, degrade them. I think we should have finished them off. I'm glad the hostages are out. But to President Trump, I like the idea of a board of peace, but it won't work in Gaza until Hamas is disarmed. You need to put Hamas on a time clock like you did Iran. We should give them X amount of days to disarm. If they don't, let Israel go in and disarm them. Do the same thing in Lebanon. Hezbollah has more American blood on its hands than Hamas does. They're all backed by Iran. You need to put these proxies on a time clock to disarm so we can get to true peace. There will never be true peace in the Mideast as long as Hamas and Hezbollah exist with the military capability to strike Israel or strike us.
What are your plans in Israel next week, Senator?
To show my support for the Jewish state. And also on the West Bank, Israel needs to control these settlers in the West Bank. But to go to Israel and say, I stand with you, I urge you to come up with a military plan to destroy Hezbollah in Lebanon if they will not disarm. To talk to them about what they need to finish Hamas off. What do you need militarily? What do you need to survive as the Jewish state? To plant the American flag in Jerusalem and say, I am here, I stand with you. The people trying to kill Jews in Israel and throughout the world want to kill you and me too. Radical Islam is an enemy of mankind. Now's the time to be firm, clear, morally certain. Hamas must be disarmed. It's non-negotiable. Hezbollah is next. We need to keep Iran in a box. Whatever Israel needs, we need to give to them. To those in the Republican Party who believe supporting Israel is a liability to the United States, you're nuts. Israel is doing things to make us safer here. For every terrorist they kill over here, that's one less that can come to over there. There's one less that can come here. So I want to stand firmly with Israel. Israel's not perfect, but they're our ally, and the people wishing to destroy the Jewish state wish to kill you too.
All right, Senator, we'll be watching your work on this. Thanks so much for being here this morning, sir.
There you have it, you guys. That was Lindsey Graham. And let me know in the comments, do you agree with him, yes or no? He is saying that we should wipe out ISIS, we should wipe out Hezbollah, Hamas, we should support Israel, we should not try to reestablish Gaza until they are eliminated. And we need to have retaliation. And there are threats against the United States and against Israel right now from these pro-Palestinian groups. If you agree with Lindsey Graham, put yes. Now, if you think no, put no. I saw various opinions in the comments. Put in your really quickly a yes or a no. What are your thoughts? Do you align with Lindsey Graham? In addition to that, hit that like button for me if you haven't done so yet. And also, as I mentioned, coming out today, the breaking news that speaking of threats of attacks against the United States and Israel, FBI has now arrested 4 alleged members of a radical pro-Palestinian group that was accused of plotting a New Year's Eve bombing in the city of Los Angeles. They were going to hit up various different locations, at least 5, to be detonated all throughout the city of LA, trying to wreak havoc in the United States on New Year's. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, I want to share with you the video footage of what they came out and said. We saw a clip earlier, but I've got some more updates as well. They're going to be describing in detail what the plans were. This coming out from the FBI today. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Good morning. Again, my name is Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Division. As we're all aware, we've had a busy weekend in this country and abroad with bad news incidents one after another. Today, we are announcing a major victory in our collective effort to protect the American people. The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force intercepted a scheme by members of a violent extremist group we believed determined to detonate explosives at multiple businesses on New Year's Eve.
5 years ago, the United States brought together leaders from Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco, who rose to the moment and chose a new path to peace. The signing of the Abraham Accords. Middle East tomorrow, coming soon.
Last Friday, the FBI arrested 4 of those subjects near 29 Palms in San Bernardino County while they planned and rehearsed their attack. The 4 subjects are members of a radical faction of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF, a violent, homegrown anti-government group. The subject arrested envisioned planting backpacks with improvised explosive devices to be detonated at multiple locations in Southern California, targeting U.S. companies. These bombs were to blow up at the same time on midnight this New Year's Eve. The plan stated that the IEDs would be complex pipe bombs. It included instructions on how to manufacture the bombs and contained guidance on how to avoid leaving evidence behind that could be traced back to them. Our investigation uncovered evidence in that the group would test the explosives in the desert. And we're going to show footage of that here in a second. We learned that the alleged co-conspirators had recently started acquiring precursor chemicals and other items necessary to accomplish this task. In recent days, the alleged co-conspirators discussed plans to travel to the desert on the 12th to detonate the explosives. Knowing this, the FBI's JTTF and the FBI Los Angeles field office staged multiple SWAT teams, special agent bomb technicians, our evidence response team, along with the FBI's elite hostage rescue team in the desert to disrupt this plan before any harm could occur. Because of this, we were able to disrupt their plan. All 4 group members were taken into custody without incident. The TILF Instagram account publicly posts content that advocates for violence against United States officials. A recent post called for a revolution and asked for supporters to organize and be ready. The FBI, as you have seen here, can also organize and be ready. We could not have accomplished these arrests without the exceptional assistance from our partners on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I specifically want to thank the following agencies, as you see up here today: the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Palm Springs Police Department, along with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. I also want to recognize the following FBI field offices as this investigation crossed the entire country: the New Orleans Division, the Buffalo Division, Indianapolis Division, and the Boston Division, who, as you all know, have had their hands full this weekend. In fact, an additional was arrested by our partners at FBI New Orleans in support of this investigation. I will now turn it over to the Los Angeles Police Chief, Jim McDonald.
Well, thank you, and good morning, and we appreciate you being here today. Los Angeles Police Department is proud to stand alongside our federal, state, and local partners today to announce the arrest stemming from a coordinated domestic terror plot. The case underscores the persistent threat posed by extremist groups and individuals, as well as the critical need for law enforcement agencies to remain vigilant in protecting our communities. The successful disruption of this plot is a powerful testament to the strength of our unified response, driven by the collaboration and tireless efforts of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, along with our allied agencies. Together, we have prevented a potential tragedy and reaffirmed our shared commitment to safeguarding our communities. I want to personally thank the dedicated men and women from every agency involved. Their relentless work over the past several days has ensured that those responsible were apprehended swiftly and safely and without harm to our neighborhoods. Thank you. I'm going to call up Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Robert Luna.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here to cover this, what I believe is a very, very important story for our community. This successful operation was a result of quick, proactive, investigative work, and I want to emphasize strong collaboration. And ADIC Akil Davis mentioned it and gave credit to all the law enforcement here in Southern California. It is better here, it always has been, than anywhere else in the country, and we're very proud to be part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. For us at the Sheriff's Department, we've been part of it since after 9/11. Their ability to share intelligence across multiple agencies, investigating threats like this one, is second to none anywhere else. The way we coordinate with partner agencies and act quickly was critical to the success of this operation. And like I said before, there's no other area like here in LA County with our partnership that has been here for years with the FBI and LAPD and the other law enforcement agencies around us. Since this threat was uncovered last week, our Sheriff's Task Force officers and intelligence analysts working closely with our law enforcement partners have been working around the clock to verify information, identify targets, and piece together this plot that you've heard described. Their strong investigative efforts, sharp situational awareness, and rapid response ensured that this threat was stopped before it ever had a chance to be carried out. I'm incredibly proud of the professionalism and dedication shown by the men and women who worked tirelessly to bring this threat to an end before it could cause harm to anybody in our community. To our community, I know hearing about these incidents like this can be unsettling, especially in the light of the recent Brown University mass shooting and the Sydney, Australia terrorist attack. But today serves as a powerful reminder that strong collaboration between federal, state, and local law enforcement can prevent violence before it occurs. As we enter the holiday season, a time when families and friends come together across traditions, cultures, and beliefs, this incident is a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and to be prepared at all times. Vigils whose goal is to divide us, to instill fear, and to target the very diversity that makes our country strong. I want to be very clear, what you see here, this investigative work and the follow-up that's been done shows that they will not succeed. Our community's diversity is our strength, and protecting every member of our community is our primary duty. Whether you are celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, or simply gathering with loved ones, you deserve to feel safe. We are committed to ensuring that safety today and every day. We remain dedicated to protecting our entire community through ongoing intelligence gathering and threat assessments, strengthening partnerships across all of our agencies, engaging with the public to promote awareness, vigilance, and resilience. And finally, I encourage everyone to stay alert, trust your instincts, and report suspicious activity. And as we always say in law enforcement, if you see something, read something, or say something, your awareness, your eyes, and ears can help us protect the entire community as we did in this incident. I will now introduce the...
There you have it, you guys. So this is from the FBI today. And we're hearing that today, December the 15th, 2025, that they were saying that there was a plot to attack the United States, the city of Los Angeles. There was a group that they arrested that was planning to do at least 5 different bombs throughout the city of Los Angeles to do a New Year's Eve attack. And they're saying that this was stopped. Now, this comes as we went through all the other headlines of the attack in Australia, the attack at Brown University. Trump is saying there will be retaliation for the attack in Syria, as we saw that National Guard who was killed. There was also the guardsmen that were attacked over at D.C., and they're saying there are threats of more attacks coming. Afghan citizen said that he was going to be building a bomb to attack Americans. Afghans arrested. And right now we're hearing that Trump is saying that this is the fault of the Biden administration. Reporters asking, why are you blaming Biden? He says, are you stupid? The last 4 years, the borders have been open. These individuals have been pouring into our nation. The Biden administration asked, take a look today, December the 15th. They are silent on this. And if you appreciate the Trump administration, the way they're handling things, drop a 47 in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button if you appreciate the live stream update as to what's been going on. Subscribe to stay up to date. And speaking of subscribing as well, if you haven't already heard, if you're a praying individual and you like the Bible, we're going to be launching a new channel. As you can see here, Holy Bible KJV. It's going to be the Bible in my voice. So if you like the voice that brings you the news to also bring you the Bible, we're going to be launching that here very soon. There's going to be a link for it down in the description if you're interested. And if you're a praying individual, drop a praying hands in the comments. Say a prayer for our world right now, because there are a lot of threats, and I believe that prayer works. And if you believe that, like I said, drop a praying hands, hit that like button, and that's the latest news coming out. As more comes out in all of these things, I'll be sure to share it here on the channel right away so you know exactly what is going on. But thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I'll keep you up to speed as more comes out. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.